Strong values and strong opinions. The Mike Broomhead Show. KTAR News, 92.3 FM, and the KTAR News app.
Hey, thanks for being here. We talk about policing. I talk about policing quite a bit. It's an interesting topic to me, and I think everyone believes we need strong public safety. I think when I speak public safety in general, not just policing, it is about the police department, but it's about first responders in general and how do we best serve a community the way we've set up our society. This is a Wall Street Journal story that was published yesterday, and it is the police alternatives for mental health crisis falls short. Dispatchers at a 911 center in Mesa, Arizona, and remember this is a national story about Mesa, have three levers to pull: fire, medical, police, or mental health. The last one is a relatively new addition adopted by dozens of police departments around the country. The mayor of Mesa, John Giles, said, "No hose, no gun, just somebody with a clipboard and an Argyle sweater who wants to ask about your day." The mayor recently saw a woman downtown who was talking to herself. He said, "In my heartless way, I ignored her and walked away. Hours later, she was still there. Giles thought she had schizophrenia. He called 911 for an officer. Police were dispatched to the scene and said she was high on methamphetamine. She refused mental health help, and the cops let her go." Here's a quote from the mayor. "I don't know what would have been the outcome if a mental health provider had gotten the call. I would like to have known. Out of the 250,000 911 calls last year in Mesa, dispatchers went with non-police mental health units 3,500 times, according to the city. So the beginning of this is looking for alternatives and how we better serve a community. I also think that it better serves the police department, which I know a lot of people are saying that should be secondary. I understand that. But what I mean is we put police officers in a situation that they're not equipped to handle. Police officers are law and order. They are law enforcement officers. And to ask them to require of a police officer to have a psychology degree and to, at one hand, lean on public safety, make sure other officers are safe, an officer responding is safe, other people are safe when someone may be having a psychotic episode, asking them to intervene as a mental health professional would is an unfair ask. At the same time, how do you dispatch to a situation where someone is a danger to themselves or a danger to other people and ask an unarmed mental health specialist to intervene? Sometimes you just don't have an answer to the question. And I'm wondering here, I applaud Mesa for its attempt. I applaud Mesa for its attempt at trying a different path. We already have an understaffed, overwhelmed police department. Asking them to answer a lot of these other calls is outside of their purview. But I do think it's an interesting conversation because in every big city, drugs play a big role in this, whether people like it or not. There are situations, I think if you've ever seen someone that is dealing with a mental health issue, one of the dangers when someone is supposed to take medication is that they won't take their medication. A bigger danger is that person that doesn't take medication self-medicates with drugs or alcohol, illicit drugs or alcohol. And so it is a problem in society that can't necessarily be solved by a police department or public safety in general. Trying to make somebody safe from themselves is heartbreaking. But making sure someone with having a breakdown or a mental health break, to keep them from hurting other people, committing a crime they're going to pay for in the justice system, but also committing a crime against someone else. Couple of other things to add to this. It's interesting. I mentioned some statistics the other day, and I want to briefly talk about this because we understand, you should understand, I'm predicting a few things, and one of the things that's coming very, very quickly by the end of this year and going certainly into the election year, one of the big pushes for the re-election of this president is going to have to do with gun control. The economy, he's not going to win on the economy. The Fed's probably going to raise rates again. We are seeing a slowing down of things. People see high gas prices, whether it's all his fault or it's not. He's in office. He's going to take heat for the economy. The conversation about Bidenomics may work with the people that already support him, but he's not going to win people over that are just on the fence, not with Bidenomics. His record on the border is even being criticized by the most diehard Democrats in sanctuary cities. We're going to get more to that later on. So he's going to need something to run on, and one of them is going to be gun control. The headline, hundreds of gun dealers lose licenses under Biden administration crackdown after years of light enforcement to encourage cooperation. ATF is clamping down on firearm sellers who say they are being unfairly targeted. So there is a situation where, and I'm not really pulling back the curtain here, I'm just updating you on how things work. There are firearms dealers across this country, many of them I know fairly well. They are good citizens, and they don't want to sell firearms to people that shouldn't have them. And they are the first line of defense. That's not me saying this. Will be the ATF agents in the field that will say this, that they are the first line of defense with these straw purchases and really hokey purchases and of informing the ATF that, hey, we got something going on here that doesn't feel right. Doesn't look right. It is more, there are some that will just do a background check. If you pass the background check, they don't look up from the counter and they'll sell you the firearm. And there are others that are so good at what they do, and this is the vast majority of them, that they want to be the first line of defense. This should be a partnership with the ATF. It shouldn't be adversarial. When you take someone who has made a mistake in paperwork and you pull their license, that's ridiculous. I don't care what it is that they're doing, what business they're in. And that's what's starting to happen. But the other side of that, and I've told this story before, it goes back to 2017. It's not just this administration. But when you go back and look at the hundreds of thousands of people each year that are prohibited possessors, which means they legally know they cannot own a firearm, and yet they apply for a firearm and a background check, illegally trying to obtain a firearm, and they know they're breaking the law. Hundreds of thousands of people. And 1% of them ever get any kind of prosecution. And yet, you're going to fine-tooth comb the paperwork of licensed firearm dealers, the ones that are the front line of defense against people that are misbehaving, and you're going to cause a problem where you're going to pull their licenses. It doesn't make sense. I want safe streets. I don't want anybody having a gun that isn't supposed to have a gun, and this is just one of those anti-gun policies, and I hope it's exposed for what it is. The issue is so emotional that there isn't a civil conversation to be had. Someone like me who is a Second Amendment advocate, right away, I'm accused of caring more about guns than I do about dead kids. You can't start a conversation there with people. And I just think we need a better conversation.